It's Power Hour LSU.
PHL, extra little bit of swag, an extra little bit of taste.
Yeah. Man, I'm headed to the field. Terror of the tiger, I'ma always keep it real. Everything gon' get devoured, it's the power. LSU with Carter, it's the power. LSU with Carter, man, I'm headed to the field. Terror of the tiger, I'ma always keep it real. Everything gon' get devoured, it's the power. LSU with Carter, it's the power. LSU with Carter, man, I'm headed to the
Let's freaking go. So, big story today in the Baton Rouge Advocate. Shout out to local journalism for doing its job. Wilson Alexander had I wouldn't call it an explosive story, but it was an illuminating story on LSU's collective. Okay, Bayou Traditions. And we're going to talk about a few different things regarding what he had to say about Bayou Traditions. Also, big time transfer portal rumors going around. JVR Suggs, of course, had an extended stay. You guys know my policy, especially with transfer portal guys. I'm not going to talk about the minor details of how a visit went because all visits go great. Are we going to reach an agreement with Suggs for him to join LSU's defensive tackle room that desperately needs help? But Tyler Barron, we talked about Wesley Matthews, who was Tyler Barron's stepbrother. Tyler Barron was one of the best players on a pretty good Tennessee defense last year. He's a pass rusher. He's not really a defensive tackle. Could Tyler Barron take this LSU defense to the next level with this commitment? I still stay with my opinion on Tyler Barron that it's always just a bit of a red flag that this will be his fourth team in a matter of 2 months. Going from Tennessee, committing to Ole Miss, then committing to Louisville, and now potentially committing to us. And he doesn't fix one of our biggest needs, which is defensive tackle. What I will tell you, though, is while we have focused so much on defensive tackle, it doesn't necessarily mean we are a slam dunk at defensive end. And Tyler Barron is a very good player. So if he is truly locked in on our mission to go win a national championship and be a part of what should be a newly coached and aggressive defensive line, if he's really locked in on being a Tiger, I'm down with it. I'm just saying, I think any one of you would have some reservations about someone going to 4 different teams in a matter of just a few months. So apologies for starting a little bit later, about a full hour later than we normally do. My niece graduated high school tonight, and I wanted to be there for her. So shout out to Delaney Rue. She's not watching my show right now. I wouldn't either if I just graduated high school. And shout out to all my family. I had family coming from all around the country for this, and it was pretty awesome to see that. So my apologies for starting a little bit later. And as always, this live stream is for you. I got to be honest. You know, our channel used to just be pre-recorded videos, and I still love pre-recorded videos. I still do mostly pre-recorded videos on my other channel. This is more of a live stream channel because it's a community, and this community is for you. Okay, so I got to be honest. I personally want to thank each and every one of you for helping our community continue to grow. One way to help our community grow is by liking and sharing, subscribing, ringing the bell. Even if you watch on YouTube, go subscribe on Apple Podcasts. I don't do a good enough job promoting that. We do audio podcasts only. It's basically this show, but in an audio version on pretty much all podcast platforms. So big shout out to all of you that have helped get us to where we are now. Okay. I'm not asking for a pat on the back. I'm not. What I will tell you, though, is this past week and a half to 2 weeks, I'm not going to say it's been hard on me because I'm to the point now where if I do say something negative about LSU, and honestly, I'm rarely ever just negative about LSU. I'm more so just pointing out how I see something. I'm never intentionally negative just to get a rise out of you guys. If I view something as something that's holding us back, I'm going to be honest with you. While at the same time, we're all LSU fans. But I've told you over the past couple of weeks that we are disheveled just a bit, and we are disorganized just a bit. I've also told you over the past couple of weeks that we do LSU. I say we. I shouldn't say we. I should say LSU's collective, right? It's not really even just LSU. Bayou Traditions is LSU's main NIL, source of income, but people that work for the Traditions don't necessarily work for LSU and vice versa, even though it is LSU's collective. So there's so many different things working at play. But I told you throughout this process to really listen closely to not only these streams, but to the national media, and in particular, Josh Pate. I don't know Josh. I know people close to him, but, I've been very, disagree. I won't say critical, but I've disagreed with a lot of his takes on quite a few things. But I've told you from the get-go, don't shoot the messenger. He's never just going to be negative about something just to be negative. And he told you, hey, we're not the best when it comes to our collective organization. And Wilson Alexander of The Advocate had a pretty big piece on this today about how LSU has allocated $8 million to this year's team and how overall our collective efforts, we don't have the absolute deepest pockets, but we have good pockets. Okay. All those things are true. And I've told you this over the past couple of weeks. And some of you have not received it well. And that's okay. It's not my job to make sure everyone receives my message well. And like I've said, not only on this channel, but on Blake's show, and we did a pre-recorded show on his channel last night, that I don't like saying these kinds of things. I don't. It's not what I like to do. I want to tell you that we got $20 million a year for each and every one of our rosters. It's just not true. And that everything is going swimmingly, which is not true. And what I always tell you when it comes to any one player, whether it's good or it's bad, okay, whether it's good or bad, never fall for a small sample size. Okay, let's just take Bryce Underwood, for instance. Bryce Underwood, we landed him. Awesome sauce. Unbelievable. Best recruit we've ever landed. He might move the needle more than any recruit that we've ever landed straight out of high school. He's got that potential. But it's not so much that Bryce Underwood is impressive. It's that LSU's entire 2025 recruiting class up to this point is impressive, right? It's really, really, really good. DeCorian Moore, Harlem Berry, so on and so on. LaFleur, anyone you want to mention in that class. As a whole, the high school recruiting is unfreaking believably good right now for LSU. Unfreaking believably good. So if it is a bigger sample size, it's always a better thing, right? What's a better program? Is it LSU or is it Oklahoma? Well, they're both kind of in the same realm. LSU's got 3 national championships. Oklahoma only has 1. But the one thing that both programs could say is they have been consistently good for multiple decades now. Okay. LSU going up to decade number 3, Oklahoma maybe a little bit longer than that. But they've both been consistently elite for decades. So when I look for success, I look for sample size. Okay. And when I look for when you are struggling, I look for sample size as well. And I've told you from the get-go, it's not the fact that LSU did not land Dominic Williams. It's not the fact that LSU didn't land Simeon Barrow. It's not the fact that LSU didn't land Philip Blitty. It's not the fact that that any one of those individual guys weren't landed. It was, no pun intended, but pun intended, it's the collective of those three missing on all those three. And the fact that you've not really landed another transfer portal defense tackle outside of Gio Pius. Once the sample size grows, whether it's success or whether it's failure, that's when you should really pay attention. Okay? Like, there's plenty of quarterbacks that have had great games, but can you do it for an entire season? And that goes for anything in sports. If the sample size increases, that means you are that great or you are that bad. Either or. So you don't even need to have inside information to understand that our collective hasn't been in the absolute best, healthiest shape. And we have got to do a better job. I say we, LSU and the Bayou Traditions, they've got to do a better job of keeping things organized, making things easy for fans to donate, making things easy for advertisers and boosters to really sink their teeth into this roster and into this program. And understand that those three letters, LSU, can catapult your, not only your business, but your celebrity. I guarantee you that there are plenty of athletes at LSU that don't get stopped. You know who does get stopped? Gordon Todd Graves. I got invited to an event by some of my friends in Arkansas for John Calipari. Okay. And the guy that got the standing ovation when they announced John Calipari to Arkansas, Hall of Fame coach, going from Kentucky, stepping down a notch to a different program in Arkansas, you know who got the standing O? The corporate CEO, John Tyson, of Tyson Chicken Plant. Donated 15, well, he pretty much footed the entire gazillion-dollar bill. They donated $15 million for the roster for basketball. It's nuts. Gordon got a championship ring from Kim Mulkey. Sell that. Sell it. Let's get our vision together. Make sure we have anywhere from 8 to 15 million a year for our roster. We'll be good to go. Okay. So I'm really excited about the future. This is kind of crazy. I don't know how that just kind of popped up, but it did. Like, my video just randomly started playing on my phone. I didn't have it pulled up. I don't know if you guys heard that or not. Crazy stuff. But it's been a wild night. But I'll share a few specific things. Obviously, as many of you know, Brian Kelly's not going to overpay. Wilson mentioned something in this article about the Patriots ranking last in cash spending over the last 10 years. And they have been one of the better franchises in the NFL. You don't have to spend the absolute most to win. You just don't. But you do need to spend and have an idea of how you want to spend. I also like the fact that one thing I think LSU has done a really good job of is they have really focused their high school recruiting to one area of the country, which, of course, is the Louisiana, Texas, Mississippi region. I don't mind dipping into Georgia. I really don't. But really, those three states, you should be dominating every year, okay? Especially like that Natchez, Baton Rouge region, right? Natchez is an hour away from Baton Rouge. Lots of LSU fans in that area, okay? But what I will tell you is LSU is about to ramp things up. And I will also tell you this. It may not be tomorrow. It might be in the next 48 to 72 hours. You're about to see LSU really ramp some stuff up here. One source described it to me as a refreshing to get us all in order for our future. And look, I go back to what we said on Sunday night. If Garrett Nussmeier is truly elite, it's going to overcome a lot of this. We know Will Campbell and Emory Jones are going to be fantastic. We know the offensive line is going to be really good. We know Kyron Lacey is going to be pretty good. So I'm pumped up. I'm pumped up. James says, unless a transfer portal defensive lineman is Clint Dorsey or Aaron Donald, they can kick rocks. We say hi to James. We say hi to Tyler. Say hi to Steven. Welcome to the channel. Burglass. JJ is in here. What's up, Todd? Power NFL, absolute garbage channel. Good to see you. Leslie, what's up? Good to have you back. Got, Cole says, speaking of sample size, James Simon videos I've seen are all against kids that couldn't make a 3A JV team. Okay. So I'll talk about James Simon just a bit here. I will. All right. Side of Mike. What's up, Mike? Blaine. I will touch on this briefly. Is James Simon going to pick LSU? I don't know. I spoke to someone close to James earlier today, and he feels he is not going to pick LSU. He is going to be announcing at some On3 event coming up in Nashville pretty soon. I wouldn't be shocked if he picked Texas. It would make sense. Obviously, a lot of people that are in the Shreveport region have more of a reason to pick Texas than those in South Louisiana because it's a proximity thing. But Austin, if he does pick Texas, isn't necessarily that close to Shreveport. I understand TCU, that's 2 hours away, but whatever the case may be, it doesn't look like James Simon is leaning towards LSU. LSU has two backs in the class. They have JT Lindsey and Harlan Berry from earlier today. I think the world of James Simon. I do think he's really good. And I understand, like, when you're evaluating a high school prospect, you do want to factor in the level of competition. You really, really, really do. The issue, though, is there are a lot of LSU players that come in with really good high school rankings that don't play at the absolute highest level of high school competition. Maybe someone that understands the LHSAA better than I do could tell me if Harlan Berry plays at the highest level. I don't believe that he does. So when I evaluate a prospect, I do factor that in. I do look at the opponents. I do look at the types of clips and the types of plays and all of that. But you're projecting, you're factoring in a lot of things: athleticism, ability to make people miss, and so on and so on. I just don't. I just don't try to get too carried away with the level of competition, because if you're dominating that level of competition, that's what we want. That's what we want to see, right? So yeah, I would always be wary of the high school clips that you watch. Okay. So Brian is a huge high school football fan. 2A, but LHSAA 2A is a lot of other states 4A and 5A. Okay, so is that James Simon you're referencing, or is that Harlan Berry? Either way, I see Pegasus brings this up. I'm not sure if Harlan Berry's best position is even running back. I am not sure. Like, he is so freakishly athletic. I mean, he could play DB, but more than that, I mean, he could be just a slot guy, honestly, a receiver. I mean, he's such a special, fluid athlete. And there's a lot more wide receivers of his build that are having more success at the NFL level. Like, he's kind of built like a Tank Dell at the Houston Texans, who's amazing. So yeah, it's interesting. I do like Harlem Berry a lot. But sometimes I wonder, man, God, the 7-on-7 clips he had were ridiculous. So if that's the case, then we want James Simon to be an LSU Tiger. I just think James Simon's a good football player. I really do think so. I will also tell you this, and I have my own grades to back this up. I think Caden Durham and Caleb Jackson are better prospects than he is. And their recruiting rankings are somewhat similar, Simon and the other two. But yeah. Ironhead says Harlem Berry is the closest a kid can get to Reggie Bush. So do I think, I guess your question is, do I think Harlem Berry is Reggie Bush? Well, I can't tell. I can tell you this. I think he's really good. Now, if he's Reggie Bush good, that means we're winning a natty. If he's that freaking good. But now, if he is that good, then yeah, then we're definitely winning natties, conference championships, playoff games, whatever your barometer of success is. But yeah, that's tough. It's tough for me to get there. Besides you, Jason, what's good, man? But I think Mac and Ironhand are just saying that he plays like him. So there you go. I am down for Reggie Bush. I'm down for that. I'll tell you this, I know of one LSU running back who idolizes Reggie Bush, and his name is Jeremy Hill. That would excite him. But and Reggie got his Heisman back. We never really talked about that on here. Huh? So there you go. I was going to try and play some highlights of Harlem tonight, since that's the topic du jour. But I want to actually get into a slightly different topic. I say slightly. It's a topic that I didn't address yet. But a key member of the 2019 LSU team at the age of 25 is retiring from football, Thaddeus Moss. I think it was shocking that he didn't succeed in the NFL. Man, I don't know if it was injuries. I don't know what the case was. The thing that really sucks for me, for him, is, he really only played 1 year. So he started off his career, I think, 2017 with NC State. 2018, he redshirted at LSU. Then 2019, he had the season. And then he went to he then goes to the NFL, and he starts his career with the Bengals. And we're like, oh my God, this is perfect. And he bounced around. I think he did some UFL stuff, but man, what a player. What a freaking player. Very consistent 3 to 4 to 5 catch, 50 to 60 yards a game. Played some of his best football, Clemson, Alabama game. You guys know the story. He had that long touchdown catch versus Oklahoma. It's insane. Absolutely insane, his career. So I just wanted to show some love to Thaddeus, one of my favorite Tigers. Obviously, everyone loves the 2019 Tigers. And then, of course, his dad, Randy Moss. So freaking cool. It's insane. Like, the dad of Thaddeus Moss is Randy Moss, the dad of Mason Taylor, Jason Taylor, 2025 tight end coming in, LaFleur. His dad played in the league. Markway, his dad played tight end at Iowa. Insane. It's insane. So, man. So, my favorite thing about Thaddeus Moss is he made pylon cam a thing, right, with this catch versus Alabama. Thank God for the invention of pylon cam, because we might not have been able to have that critical catch versus Alabama. But what a player. Really good blocker, too. So shout out to you, young dad. He tweeted out earlier it was a weight lifted off his shoulders. Now, there is actually one semi-good thing that comes from a player's retirement, and I'll tell you after this.
I think joy and happiness and doing things you like is important.
My favorite thing is sports cards. When I'm not on YouTube, I am building my collection. And when I started, I wish there was a sports card strategy show.
He wasn't necessarily going to be a first-round pick before all this Heisman buzz. Now they're talking about him being a top 5 pick.
Paul Hickey and the team at nooffseason.com personally helped build my Jaden Daniels collection, and they're looking to do the same for you. Just check them out on social media or nooffseason.com. So, now that Thaddeus is retired, you can actually go buy sports cards. They, after like the retirement buzz kind of wears off just a bit, you can build the nastiest Thaddeus Moss sports card collection ever for a good, affordable price. That's basically the only good thing. Sad day, though. But yeah, big shout out Paul Hickey and the crew, nooffseason.com. If you want a one-on-one sports consultation with me, let me know. We'll get you all hooked up with nooffseason.com. Okay? Ooh, Pegasus coming in hot. Saying Bryce Underwood is going to be so good as a true freshman. You might have to play him over Garrett Nussmeier. Yeah, it's always kind of a weird thing. So, you know, we're talking about Jeremy Hill a minute ago, and you know that there was a small faction of people that was like, well, Jay Hill could come back. You know, he didn't have the absolute most lit NFL draft stock. He still went in the second round. He made obviously a really good decision to go. But you know, there was a big faction of people that were like, man, I hope he goes so we could just hand the keys off to Leonard Fournette. And obviously Fournette started off struggling, and we put way too much on his plate early on, but he ended up being good as a true freshman and then transcended as a sophomore and junior. You know, as far as looking towards the future like that, you're always going to want a good year 5 starter over a year 1 guy more often than not for a few reasons. Number one, if a year 1 guy starts beating out a year 5 guy, then the year 5 guy is going to transfer and play somewhere else. A year 1 guy is more than likely going to stay and be a backup. Second thing is Colin Hurley's still there. Ricky Collins is still there. AJ Swan is still there. So it's more just a hurdle than just Garrett Nussmeier. But yeah, Bryce Underwood is a real deal. Okay. He is a real deal. So there you go. Let's see. Because we started late, I've had a crazy day. We might not go too long, and we have a live stream coming up tomorrow at 6 p.m. Central. I do expect some, not necessarily news per se, but I do think you're going to see something from LSU side of things as far as like the collective is concerned. So there you go. Yeah, Thad had 2 versus Clemson. Yeah, 1 versus Oklahoma. I think he had 4 total that year or 6 total, something like that. Okay. Let me see. This comes in Facebook Messenger from Steve. Okay. Who said, tell me more about Tyler Barron. It's a longer message here. I don't have like his stats just like pulled in front of me, but he's good. And one thing I like about him is there are times where Tennessee would use him as a pass rushing DT. And he's older. Like he is someone that is ready to play. And I'm open to it. Once again, I said what I said about him earlier. I won't back off of that. If he was on the channel with us right now and ask him about jumping from all these different teams, but man, he would make our defense better. He just would. I mean, he is a very, very, very productive, talented player. Okay. He is. Don't forget, if you super chat, we go straight to your question. Tomorrow, we close off our Kyron Lacey giveaway. Our trivia question is up on Patreon, patreon.com/LSU football. We're going to put the Kyron Lacey card. Here it is. We'll pin his sleeve and top load it. Go join our PHO Patreon. Just drop my ink stick. By the way, when you sign up, I send you a Joe Burrow card in the mail. Tomorrow, one thing I would do is, like, if I was LSU and I was releasing a new, like, if I was trying to release like a fundraising whatever, tomorrow is going to be a big football day. The schedule release is tomorrow in the NFL, and that's not really like big news for actually most NFL fans. It's even more important for fantasy fans, especially if you're an underdog drafter like me. But NFL schedule release is always crazy. Always crazy. So we'll see what the Saints have to deal with tomorrow. Don't forget, go subscribe to Believe in Saints. I would release whatever on Thursday. I would. Let's go to Amacat. Will I do any NCAA football 25 content? So, Amacat, I actually gave up video games. I gave it up, not too long ago, and I think I made a big mistake because the biggest college football YouTubers are actually the ones that just play NCAA 14, guys like Bordeaux, right? And I used to love to game. And there's a piece of me that wants to start a FIFA channel. So I'm debating getting back into the video game console market, debating big time. I love playing video games. I just gave it up, to really pursue YouTube and DJing and other interests. So I don't know. I don't know what my plan is. I'm just really excited that the game's coming back. I really, really, really am, because that was a big part of my college experience. It really, 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 really was. So I had to TJ. Jared says he'd love the game as well. If Jared gets a game system, I'll do it, because Jared and I are bros. Leslie, good to see you again. Is Lacey a first-round wide receiver? That's tough. That's really tough. I would like to think that he is. I think there's only two guys at this point in time that are so far ahead of him that it's going to be impossible for him to leap them. That is Luther Burden and Territoria McMillan. But outside of those two guys, I could see Lacey being the wide receiver 3 in this draft class. But, you have to jump a guy like Trey Harris at Ole Miss, who is really freaking good. That's tough. That's tough. So, I don't know. I'll tell you this, though. Kyron did a lot of wide receiver 1 kind of things last year. And now that he is the wide receiver 1, let's see if he can do it this year. Okay. Now, in the next 10 minutes, I'm going to answer as many questions as we possibly can. If you super chat, we will keep it going. So good to see Jason back in here. I love that we still have some Florida State Seminole fans that watch us. Man, Florida State. It's insane. Like, there's some opponents that our history is like really good against, like Ohio State, of course, being one of those. Oklahoma won a national championship versus them. Miami, storied program, dominated them twice. And then there's other programs where you're like, man, Florida State's one of them. Include the 1980, 90, whatever the fight was. So, yeah, I hope we play Florida State again, because they have left such a sour taste in our mouths. Let's go to TJ here. I used to play a lot of FIFA too. Haven't played anything in a couple of years, but I'm really thinking about hooking the PlayStation back up for NCAA. So, poll question. Are you buying the new NCAA football game when it comes out? This is right down the middle. 51% of you say no. Yeah, I would say around a 4.38. I would say Kyron's about like 4.38, like 4. Like, if you were to ask me right now, obviously he's not been training for the 40-yard dash. Jared, thank you for the super chat. I would say he would go out there and run probably like 4.45, which is really good. Also, I want to shout out, we did the Thad Moss shout out. I want to shout out Paul Skeens. Throwing over 100. Let's go to James. What's the intel on Shelton Sampson? Yeah, obviously, James, it's been a bit of a disappointment to start of his career. He had those drops in like the blowout portion of the Grambling game last year, and he really didn't play after that. And if LSU felt like Shelton Sampson was like a true alpha going into next year, I don't think they would have pursued CJ Daniels, who has a very similar build and skill set, if they would have felt Shelton was going to be the guy that we expect him to be this next year. So, my high school grade on Shelton was really good. I don't know. I don't know. Spring game was kind of tough, but I can tell you that there are times at LSU's practices that he looks incredible, that he makes incredible plays. But you begin to ask yourself, is it him, or is it the elite quarterbacks who's throwing to him, or is it the struggling group of defensive backs? It used to be like Jamar Chase would have big LSU practices, but he would be doing this against Derek Stingley. He would be doing this against Cordell Flott and guys that are in the league. Jay Ward. And now it's just a little bit easier to dominate an LSU practice because our DB talent is at the same caliber as it's been over the past couple of years. So I've had multiple people tell me that his practice performances have been stellar. But can it translate to an actual game field? We don't know. He's not really gotten a whole lot of chances to play up to this point, so I'm definitely not giving up on him. But look, it's and I'll go to the grave saying this: the hardest position to play in college football is wide receiver at LSU. It's really, really hard. Either there or wide receiver at Ohio State. And what makes wide receiver a far more difficult position to evaluate is pretty much every position you think of in football. We grade you on if you're playing. Honestly, if you're playing and you're starting, that's the biggest hurdle to climb. It's just getting playing time. Wide receiver, there's two different hurdles you want to clear as a player. You not only want to play, but you want to get targets. So you have a scarce resource, which is playing time, and then you have an even more scarce resource, which is targets. And I'll always say this. Are there coaches out there that scheme up receivers better than others? Yes. But ultimately, targets are earned, not given. Okay? You have got to get the frick open. You've got to be consistent. And the one thing, and it could just be that he came from more humble beginnings. Kyron Lacey had to go to UL and prove himself. And then he comes to LSU, had some of the worst case of the dropsies, but do you want to know why he kept playing? Because he can block. That's a big reason why. The Missouri game was teach tape on how to block as a wide receiver. So it's really hard to play wide receiver at LSU. Wide receiver, I feel, in college football, outside of course, the onesie positions, which is quarterback, long snapper and punter and kicker and kickoff specialist, obviously. Wide receiver is the hardest position to play in collegiate football. I'm not going to say it's the hardest position, like in terms of the skill you need to be able to play. You can argue it's the opposite. It might be the easiest, but because there are so many wide receivers and we have all these 7-on-7 tournaments and the rules do favor wide receivers so much more, there's almost too many receivers. Chalmette, Catholic high school. But yeah, I mean, I'm not counting out Shelton Sampson just yet. He was just too prodigious of a talent at Catholic high school. So we'll take a few more once again after Jared's generous super chat. Jared, I hope you're feeling better. Who is going to match Jared's energy tonight? We'll take a few more here tonight. All right, I'm gonna finish my rant here, if you guys don't mind, on this. And once again, I'm not saying that I wasn't happy to be at this event tonight, but y'all, I understand the point of it. I understand why you have to do it, but we gotta have a serious talk about graduation and graduation ceremonies. You have a serious talk about it. I'm not sure if they should exist. I know it sounds haterish, but this wasn't like a big graduation ceremony. But you have these huge ones now where the school pays motivational speaker X or celebrity Y or whoever. They pay them $50K or whatever it costs for them to get in the cap and gown, even if they didn't go to the school, in the blistering heat with Meemaw and Peepaw and Papaw in attendance. Cancel graduations. We don't need all these speeches. Salutatorian, valedictorian, 5 minutes each. Let's go get cupcakes and punch. Rub it up, dub. Thanks for the grub. Let's everyone go home. It's too much. It's just too much. But this is a problem, and I knew this would come. And this came the other night when I went on this rant. Why are you hating on the graduation? Let the kids have their moment. But that's my point. It's not about the kids. We got to have guest speakers. And no, valedictorian speak, salutatorian speak, class president speak, 5 minutes apiece, long walkthrough, take your photo, get on. And get on. Okay? Get on with your life. Get on. Both Catholic and Zachary both declined to play Ruston. Well, my friend who was on Ruston's coaching staff is now the new at Zachary, if I'm not mistaken. Why are they avoiding Ruston? Pegasus thinks I'm hating. I'm not hating. I'm not. I think the best graduation would be just that the kids themselves speak. Don't need any other adults to speak. Just let the kids run it. If it's their night, like you said. I appreciate you, TJ. Can't freaking wait. Can't freaking wait. I actually am really excited. Really, really about you know what, man. I'm freaking amped, bro. Christian Fulton. Yeah, Christian Fulton in practice. Man, he was good. He was a good player. Talk about a weird career. His got off to the weirdest start. Got into a literal pissing match. I mean, it's insane. It's insane. Let me see. I don't want to miss anyone tonight. HBCU graduation. You know, James, tonight was actually, I think, like the second graduation I've ever attended. Like I didn't walk when I graduated from LSU. You know, a good chunk of my family went to HBCUs. So tonight was like the first one I've attended. I've never attended another college graduation ever. I refuse. So Southern's was an hour. Perfect. Perfect length. But I'll tell you this. All right, in one of the graduation speeches, so there was 2 salutatorians and 2 valedictorians. So apparently there was a tie for second between 2 people, and then a tie for first between 2 other people. And one of the salutatorians, or I don't remember which one, quoted a Chinese proverb, an Indian proverb, a Bible verse, also had an Einstein quote in there, a Winston Churchill quote in there, a Martin Luther King quote in there. There's a thumbs up thing. And I'm like, God, let me just Google every motivational thing. Quote. It was like every motivational thing that you can think of. And I was like, man. The speech had me fired up. I was like, man, am I at a graduation or am I at a Tony Robbins conference? I mean, let the kid cook. Now, Sibley, of course, you work in education. You ask most faculty members if they enjoy graduation. Ask them. They dread it. Oh, we're missing our students. That's the only thing that I'm doing. They dread it. And then after the graduation is when the mess happens. Everyone's got to take photos. And there's little kids running around and hey dudes, and they're throwing dirt at each other and all kinds of stuff. But here's the thing about the post-graduation thing. Okay. There's another graduation that I had to miss because I was DJing a wedding. So that happened this weekend. The one thing I highly recommend is to not, I repeat, do not take your family out to eat, because graduations, your entire family's there. Don't roll 18 deep into Chili's. Like, don't do that. Have a fish fry at someone's house or go to a bar or whatever. Don't go up to Ruby Tuesdays and say, yeah, table for 27. Don't do that. Don't do that. And you might as well take your ass to McDonald's. No, you don't do that. Jared says, I got two more in me. I got two more in me. Oh man. That is so funny. And then the robes. I mean, the robes. I mean, what the hell are these robes? All right, it's a lot. It's a lot. I mean, it's either graduation or praise God from whom those blessings flow. Is it Sunday? No, it's a random Tuesday night. And it's 98 degrees outside. And I'm not talking about Nick Lachey. We'll take a few more. I'm done with my graduation rants, unless you want me to keep going. I've got hours of material. Hours of material on how much I hate graduation. I freaking hate it. There's something else. If I can keep going. There's no dress code. Like, there's dress code for the graduates, but the people that are attending, you can have. It's always in a football stadium, so you can have someone in a suit sitting next to someone with a cutoff shirt, and don't know why. Why is it that the people can't show up on time for graduation? Show up on time. One time. But that's not here nor there. What's up, Hazard? Good to see you back. University of South Alabama. I learned today one of my really close relatives worked at South Alabama. I learned that this weekend. Never doing it again. I say that, but I want to. That was always the best thing about doing stand-up, is that if there was something that really pissed you off, you write about it and blow off the steam on stage. Sometimes it'll bomb, but if you're really blowing steam about talking about something that really pisses you off, guess what? If it bombs, it's still therapy because you had to get it out. One thing I will say back to college football, and I bet it was not a solid 5. I'll try and come up with one, and I might do a set. I don't know. I want to talk a little bit about college football. I try to stay away from like the macro college football topics. We mostly save those for Sunday live streams. But if you guys want to talk more about this on tomorrow's live stream, we can as well. But like the way the college football playoff structure is set up, you're about to get a lot more rematches. Okay. And it's funny, it's like for years, later in these live streams, you'll hear me talk about like how much I dislike the NBA structure and all that stuff. But this has been my favorite NBA playoffs in a long, long, long time, at least since the 2016 Cavs versus Warriors series, which is just, it was just so captivating. And it doesn't get, it really, honestly, I don't think there will ever be an NBA finals more important than that one. But I really enjoyed this NBA playoffs. And the main reason why I've enjoyed it is because I like variety. I am, and the ratings say otherwise. What executives will tell you, TV executives, is every year they would prefer Steph Curry, LeBron James going head to head. They would prefer that. They would prefer Lakers, Celtics, because those are proven ratings. Those are proven brands. I love this NBA playoffs because it's all new. Like the Celtics are the only team really left that have been a perennial contender over the past couple of years. Denver, of course, finally broke through, but they're still kind of new. The Wolves are obviously brand new on the scene here. Oklahoma City, and then Dallas with Luka and Kyrie is kind of a newer thing. And they made a lot of moves at the trade deadline. And then, of course, you have Eastern Conference. The Knicks are back. It's obviously a great story, especially if you are in your 40s. The Pacers, we all have different opinions on them. And then, of course, the Cavaliers and the Celtics. I've really enjoyed this NBA playoffs. But I've really enjoyed it because I don't want Steph Curry every year. I like Steph Curry. I don't want him every year. I like variety, even though my Pelicans aren't in it. In the college football playoff, with the 12-team playoff, you're going to have more variety. You're going to have more teams that actually get in. But in theory, you're going to have more rematches. Like what you'll see in the playoffs that will happen quite a bit now that we're getting away from divisions, is you're going to have like conference championship rematches. So you can have Ohio State, Michigan in the game. And then the next week you can have Ohio State, Michigan in the conference title game. And then based on how that game would go, you can have them in the first round of the playoffs as well. It in theory could happen. It's a weird thing. Get used to it. All right, get ready for it. And one of the proudest episodes, and this turned out to be true because the game was so freaking memorable, was the 2022 Alabama win in Tiger Stadium. You will never feel that way after beating Alabama again. You never will, because there's always that chance you're going to see them in the playoff again. That feeling will never feel the same way. And it sucks. It really, really, really sucks. But I won't go down that rabbit hole again. But, there's going to be healthy discussions about the future of conference title games and all of that. But we'll see. The biggest D says, I feel the same way about Tom Brady. Hell, you should feel the same way about Patrick Mahomes. I wanted Josh Allen to break through so bad. Don't necessarily care for Josh Allen. I'm more of a Burrow guy. But I would have preferred Bills 49ers. I would have preferred Ravens 49ers, but we got a rematch of Chiefs 49ers. At least it wasn't a direct rematch, but still. I would have loved the Lions to make the Super Bowl. But there you go. So that'll do it for me tonight. Once again, let's shout out our top super chatters. Jared takes home the top spot. TJ alongside Jared. I really appreciate you. And Edward is a lot of fun. All right, y'all. We'll talk soon. It is Power Hour LSU. Boom! Did I tell you how much I love graduation? It's just such a great time for everyone to get together, family, and everyone should go out to eat after graduation. If you're just now joining us, just to let you know. And tonight, we are doing Subway Chicken Bacon Ranch. Let's go. Let's go.